Ladies and gentlemen, attention is one of the most valuable currencies in human interaction. It dictates influence, shapes perceptions, and determines the power dynamics in relationships, businesses, and social structures. The way we direct our attention, whether towards people, ideas, or experiences, ultimately controls our emotional state and dictates the level of power others have over us. In a world where distractions are endless and everyone is vying for attention, those who understand its value can wield immense control, while those who squander it remain at the mercy of external forces. When we give someone our attention, we are, in essence, granting them influence over our thoughts, emotions, and actions. This influence can be positive or negative, depending on how consciously we choose to distribute our attention. In relationships, for instance, the more we focus on someone, whether in admiration, desire, or resentment, the more control they exert over our mental state. If someone's actions dictate our mood, they effectively hold power over us. On the other hand, when we withdraw attention, we take back that power. Ignoring provocations, insults, or attempts to manipulate us diminishes their impact. This is why emotional detachment and selective attention are such powerful tools. They shift the balance of control in any interaction. The power of attention extends beyond personal relationships and into broader societal structures. Social media platforms, for example, thrive on the ability to capture and monopolize attention. Companies spend billions of dollars studying human behavior to design algorithms that keep people engaged, knowing that attention translates directly into revenue. The more time and energy we invest in these platforms, the more control they have over our thoughts, behaviors, and even self-worth. By understanding this dynamic, we can become more intentional about where we place our focus. Rather than allowing external forces to dictate our mental space, we can actively choose what deserves our attention, and by extension, our energy. One of the greatest demonstrations of attention as power is found in the realm of conflict and resistance. When someone seeks a reaction from us, whether through provocation, criticism, or manipulation, our response determines the level of power they hold over us. If we react emotionally, we hand them control over our state of mind. But if we remain composed, unbothered, and indifferent, we strip them of their influence. This is not about suppressing emotions, but rather mastering them. The ability to remain unmoved in the face of negativity sends a clear message: you do not have power over me. This is why silence, restraint, and indifference are often the most effective responses to those who seek to control or disrupt our peace. The philosophy of controlling attention applies to our personal growth as well. What we focus on expands. If we give our attention to problems, we amplify our struggles. If we fixate on negativity, our mind becomes conditioned to see the world through a pessimistic lens. But if we redirect our attention toward growth, solutions, and self-improvement, we empower ourselves. This principle is evident in every aspect of life, whether in business, sports, relationships, or personal development. The most successful individuals are those who can discipline their attention, filtering out distractions and focusing only on what truly matters. This concept also explains why detachment is often more powerful than pursuit. In any human dynamic, the person who needs attention the least holds the most power. This is evident in social interactions, negotiations, and even romantic relationships. Desperation repels, while self-sufficiency attracts. People are drawn to those who seem indifferent to their validation, precisely because their lack of neediness signals confidence and self-sufficiency. When someone realizes they cannot easily command your attention, they often work harder to earn it. This shift in dynamic alters the power balance, placing control in the hands of the one who remains unaffected. In professional settings, this principle is just as relevant. Leaders who command respect do not beg for approval or validation. They carry themselves with a quiet confidence that naturally draws attention. The most influential figures in history did not chase recognition. They cultivated something so valuable that attention gravitated toward them. Those who master their craft, develop deep expertise, or cultivate an unshakable sense of purpose do not need to demand attention. Their presence alone commands it. Ultimately, attention shapes reality. Where we direct our focus determines our experiences, relationships, and levels of success. Every day we make choices, conscious or unconscious, about what we allow into our mental space. The disciplined mind understands that not everything deserves attention. Not every insult requires a response. Not every trend needs to be followed. and not every person deserves a place in our thoughts. The power lies in knowing when to engage and when to withdraw, when to invest energy and when to conserve it. Attention is power, and those who master it gain control over themselves and, by extension, the world around them. Indifference is often misunderstood as a form of coldness, arrogance, or even cruelty. When someone chooses not to react, not to engage, or not to be emotionally affected by a situation, others may perceive it as a lack of empathy. However, true indifference is not about being heartless. It is about maintaining emotional control, protecting one's inner peace, and refusing to let external forces dictate one's mental state. Indifference, when applied wisely, is a tool of strength rather than a weapon of harm. It is the ability to detach from unnecessary emotional turmoil, allowing one to focus on what truly matters without being overwhelmed by negativity or manipulation. In relationships, whether personal or professional, emotions often run high. People seek validation, acknowledgement, and sometimes even conflict to elicit a reaction from others. When someone does not respond as expected, they may be accused of being insensitive. But in reality, choosing indifference in certain situations is an act of self-preservation. Not every argument needs to be engaged in, and not every negative comment deserves a response. By refusing to react to provocation, one maintains control over their emotions rather than handing power to the other person. This is not an act of cruelty but a conscious decision to prioritize peace over unnecessary conflict. Indifference is also a powerful tool against manipulation. Many people attempt to control others through guilt, emotional outbursts, or demands for attention. If someone constantly reacts to these tactics, they become easily influenced. The person who remains indifferent, however, becomes immune to such manipulation. This does not mean they do not care, but rather that they refuse to be controlled by emotions that are imposed upon them. By maintaining composure and not giving in to external pressure, they assert their own authority over their emotions and decisions. Furthermore, indifference is often an act of wisdom rather than neglect. There are countless situations in life where getting emotionally involved only leads to unnecessary suffering. Whether it is workplace politics, social media arguments, or personal conflicts that drain energy without resolution, choosing indifference can be the best course of action. It allows one to conserve emotional energy for situations that genuinely require it, rather than wasting it on matters that do not contribute to growth or happiness. The ability to walk away from negativity is not an act of cruelty but an assertion of self-respect. Indifference does not mean a lack of compassion. One can be deeply empathetic while still choosing not to engage in unnecessary emotional drama. A person who remains calm in the face of hostility may still understand and acknowledge the emotions of others, but simply refuse to be consumed by them. There is a difference between being heartless and being emotionally intelligent. True emotional intelligence involves knowing when to engage and when to step back. Reacting to every emotional trigger does not make one more compassionate. It often makes them more vulnerable to being drained, manipulated, or controlled. In many cases, indifference leads to greater respect. People are naturally drawn to those who are in control of their emotions, who do not overreact, and who do not seek constant validation. Those who maintain their composure and confidence without being overly affected by others tend to be seen as stronger and more self-assured. It is often those who care too much about how others perceive them that end up being the most emotionally unstable. Indifference, when applied wisely, allows one to maintain dignity and poise in all situations. Ultimately, choosing indifference is about valuing inner peace over external chaos. It is about refusing to be dragged into unnecessary emotional battles and recognizing that not everything deserves a reaction. Indifference is not cruelty, it is strength, control, and the ability to navigate life without being weighed down by every passing storm. Strength is often mistaken for force, aggression, or the ability to overpower others. Many believe that strength is demonstrated through dominance, loudness, or the ability to control situations through sheer force of will. However, true strength is not found in reckless action but in restraint. It is the ability to remain composed when provoked, to choose silence over unnecessary conflict, and to exercise patience when immediate reaction seems easier. Restraint is not weakness, it is mastery over oneself. a sign of deep confidence and self-control that far surpasses impulsive displays of power. Restraint allows one to navigate difficult situations with wisdom rather than emotion. When faced with provocation, it is easy to lash out, to retaliate with harsh words or impulsive actions. But the ability to remain calm in such moments is what separates the truly strong from the weak. Weakness lies in being controlled by emotions, in letting anger dictate responses, and in reacting without thought. A person who lacks restraint is easily manipulated because they allow others to dictate their emotional state. By contrast, someone who practices restraint holds power over themselves and in turn over the situation. In relationships, whether personal or professional, restraint is often the key to maintaining respect and authority. A leader who reacts impulsively to every challenge loses credibility, while one who responds with measured patience commands admiration. A person who resists the urge to argue over trivial matters fosters a sense of stability and control. Restraint does not mean submission. It means knowing when action is necessary and when it is best to step back. It is the ability to choose battles wisely, understanding that not every disagreement needs to be turned into a war. Restraint also plays a crucial role in self-discipline. The ability to control impulses, whether in speech, behavior, or decision-making, determines success in many areas of life. Those who practice restraint do not act on every fleeting desire but make choices that align with their long-term goals. This is evident in personal development, where success often depends on the ability to delay gratification. Whether it is resisting the urge to respond emotionally, avoiding unnecessary indulgences, or maintaining focus on a goal despite distractions, restraint is the foundation of achievement. Those who master self-control are the ones who build lasting success, while those who give in to every impulse often find themselves trapped by their own lack of discipline. Another aspect of strength through restraint is found in communication. Words hold immense power, and speaking without thinking can cause irreparable damage. The ability to restrain one's tongue, to think before speaking, and to choose words carefully is a mark of strength. A wise person understands that not everything needs to be said, that silence can be more powerful than argument, and that withholding certain words can preserve relationships, reputations, and peace of mind. Those who lack restraint in speech often create unnecessary conflicts, while those who practice it command respect. Restraint is also vital in moments of adversity. When faced with setbacks, disappointments, or betrayals, the instinctive reaction is often to lash out, to seek revenge, or to let emotions take over. But true strength is found in the ability to endure, to remain steady, and to respond with dignity rather than vengeance. Patience in difficult times is one of the greatest demonstrations of inner power. Those who react impulsively often regret their actions, while those who restrain themselves emerge stronger, with a clearer mind and a greater ability to turn adversity into growth. Ultimately, restraint is not about suppression but about control. It is not about inaction but about choosing the right action at the right time. It is the ability to govern oneself, to remain unmoved by external forces, and to respond to life with intention rather than reaction. True strength is not in how much one can force but in how much one can control. The strongest people are not those who fight every battle, but those who know when to fight, when to walk away, and when to simply remain still. Seeking validation is a natural human tendency. From childhood, people are conditioned to look for approval from parents, teachers, peers, and society. Compliments, praise, and recognition feel rewarding, reinforcing the idea that external approval determines self-worth. However, constantly seeking validation can become a trap, leading to a life dictated by the opinions and expectations of others rather than personal truth. True confidence and fulfillment come from within, not from external affirmation. Those who free themselves from the need for validation gain control over their own lives, emotions, and decisions. When a person relies on validation, they become vulnerable to manipulation. If self-worth is based on the approval of others, then rejection, criticism, or even indifference can create deep insecurity. People who seek validation often alter their behavior to fit in, suppress their true thoughts to avoid disapproval, and shape their identity based on what others find acceptable. This weakens individuality and creates dependence on fluctuating external opinions. One moment, praise can bring happiness, but the next, a lack of recognition can lead to self-doubt. This emotional instability keeps people trapped in a cycle where their confidence is at the mercy of others. Validation seeking also hinders growth. When people focus too much on what others think, they hesitate to take risks, fearing failure or judgment. Creativity is stifled when ideas are shaped by the desire for approval rather than authenticity. Many great thinkers, artists, and leaders were criticized before they were celebrated. If they had sought validation above all else, they would have abandoned their visions. True progress, whether personal, professional, or creative, requires the courage to follow one's own path, regardless of external opinions. The need for validation also leads to unnecessary suffering. Social media has intensified this, as people now measure their worth through likes, comments, and shares. Many chase digital approval, comparing themselves to carefully curated images of success, beauty, and happiness. This creates anxiety and insecurity, as self-worth becomes linked to numbers on a screen rather than real accomplishments or inner peace. When people stop seeking validation, they free themselves from this emotional burden. They realize that self-worth is not something granted by others, but something that already exists within. True confidence is quiet and independent. It does not need constant reinforcement. People who do not seek validation do not waste energy trying to prove themselves. They do what they believe is right, pursue their passions without fear of judgment, and remain unaffected by the opinions of those who do not matter. This does not mean they reject feedback or ignore others completely, but they do not let external approval define them. They listen, but they do not depend on praise or fear criticism. Ultimately, the strongest individuals are those who validate themselves. They trust their own judgment, value their own worth, and remain firm in their beliefs without the need for external reassurance. They are free to live authentically, making choices based on their own principles rather than the fleeting approval of the world around them. Mastery over oneself is the foundation of strength, wisdom, and true fulfillment. Before trying to influence the world, change circumstances, or control others, one must first learn to control their own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Without self-mastery, external achievements hold little value because inner chaos will always undermine them. True power does not come from dominance over others, but from the ability to govern oneself with discipline, clarity, and composure. Those who fail to master themselves become slaves to their impulses, circumstances, and the opinions of others, while those who cultivate self-control find freedom and stability in an unpredictable world. The first step to mastering oneself is gaining control over emotions. Many people allow their emotions to dictate their actions, leading to regret, conflict, and unnecessary suffering. Anger, jealousy, fear, and insecurity can cloud judgment and push people into making impulsive decisions. The one who masters themselves does not suppress emotions but understands them, processes them, and chooses how to respond rather than reacting blindly. They recognize that emotions are temporary and should not dictate long-term choices. A person who can remain calm in difficult situations, resist provocation, and act with patience rather than impulse demonstrates true strength. Discipline is another critical aspect of self-mastery. Without discipline, talent goes to waste, goals remain unachieved, and potential is left unfulfilled. Many people desire success, happiness, and growth, but few are willing to put in the consistent effort required to attain them. Self-mastery means being able to push forward even when motivation fades, to do what is necessary even when it is difficult, and to remain committed to a goal without being swayed by distractions or temporary pleasures. It is the ability to say no to short-term gratification in favor of long-term rewards. Those who control their habits, time, and energy with discipline create the foundation for lasting success and fulfillment. Another key element of self-mastery is control over thoughts. The mind is a powerful tool, but for many it becomes a source of suffering rather than strength. Negative thinking, overthinking, and self-doubt can consume a person's mental energy and prevent them from taking action. Mastering the mind means becoming aware of thoughts and consciously directing them toward what is beneficial rather than destructive. It means rejecting limiting beliefs, replacing fear with confidence, and training the mind to focus on solutions rather than problems. A person who can control their thoughts controls their reality. Self-mastery also requires independence from external validation. Many people live according to the expectations of others, seeking approval and fearing judgment. This weakens personal power as it places control of one's happiness in the hands of others. Those who master themselves define their worth from within, not based on external praise or criticism. They do not seek validation or let the opinions of others determine their choices. Instead, they trust themselves, stand firm in their beliefs, and live authentically. This inner strength makes them unshakable in the face of rejection, failure, or doubt. Another aspect of self-mastery is the ability to let go of what cannot be controlled. Many people waste energy trying to change circumstances, control other people, or resist reality. This only leads to frustration and exhaustion. The one who masters themselves understands that true peace comes from focusing only on what is within their control, their actions, reactions, and mindset. They do not waste time complaining about problems, but instead take responsibility for what they can change and accept what they cannot. This mindset frees them from unnecessary stress and allows them to move through life with greater ease and confidence. Ultimately, mastering oneself is the key to mastering life. When a person controls their emotions, disciplines their actions, directs their thoughts, detaches from external validation, and focuses only on what they can control, they become unstoppable. They do not rely on external circumstances for happiness or success, but create both from within. They navigate life with clarity, purpose, and inner peace. Instead of being controlled by impulses, distractions, or the expectations of others, they take full ownership of themselves and their destiny. This is the ultimate power, one that cannot be taken away by anyone or anything. Mastering yourself is not a destination, but a lifelong journey, one that requires patience, discipline, and unwavering commitment. The more you refine your mind, emotions, and actions, the more unshakable you become in the face of life's challenges. True power is not found in controlling others or external circumstances, but in ruling over yourself with wisdom and purpose. When you achieve self-mastery, you no longer react to the world, you shape it. You stand firm in your values, pursue your goals with clarity, and walk through life with confidence, unaffected by fleeting opinions or temporary obstacles. The strongest foundation you can ever build is the mastery of your own mind, heart, and will, because once you own yourself, you own your destiny.